And now, a thought from man. You know, Disney's had a lot of great shows over the past few years. Whether it's the more recent stuff like Gravity Falls, Star vs. the Forces of Evil, or more the early 2000s stuff like Kim Possible, Proud Family, and whatnot. But there are definitely a lot of hidden gems that just got overlooked or just didn't vibe that well, or didn't have very strong ad campaigns. And I just feel like that's such a shame, because there are definitely a lot of shows that people should know about that were really good. And you know what? I'm just gonna do that. I'm gonna count down the top 5 underrated Disney TV shows. Number 5. Super Robot Monkey Team Hyperforce Go. Now, this is a show that had 4 seasons, but sadly, it really didn't catch on. It had somewhat of a toy line, but not many people really were buying them. But it was a pretty good action show. It worked as a Saturday morning TV show, and that's basically what it was, just a good Saturday morning TV show when we originally had them. And it was very decent. The characters were good, the animation was nice. It was actually a pretty interesting thing. It was an American product, but it was animated by a Japanese company. That's why you see this sort of anime style, and it actually works for it pretty well. The main concept is about this kid who finds an abandoned giant fighting robot, and he goes inside and he finds this team of robot monkeys, and he becomes their leader, and they go around fighting evil and whatnot. And it sort of seems a bit Power Ranger-ish, considering the characters are colorful monkeys and whatnot, but it's actually pretty good. The action was decent, the storylines held up pretty well. You felt what the characters would go through whenever some hardship hit them.
You guys were there for me. I wasn't for you. I really let you down.
Just because a friend makes a mistake doesn't mean you give up on them.
We got your back.
Bet on it.
The show was just pretty well done. It wasn't spectacular, but it was definitely well made. Sadly, the show had 4 seasons, but it never got a proper ending. The last episode is literally where they're about to go to a war, and that's it. You just know they're about to go to war, and end of series. It never got a proper ending, and it's sad too, because you actually get involved with these characters and you want to see how everything's going to turn out, but sadly you can't. But still, this is a great series and something that shouldn't be overlooked. Number 4. Tron Uprising. Now, this was a spin-off of the original Tron movie, but this time it focused more on an AI called Beck, and it more or less built on the world of Tron. It actually worked pretty well. The aesthetic took away from the new Tron Legacy movie, obviously, instead of the original Tron movie, but that worked to its advantage. The main concept focused on this AI named Beck who wanted to rebel against Clue and his forces from taking over the grid, and he mainly remembered the hero Tron, but sadly Tron was considered a legacy that died. But he later finds out Tron is actually still alive, and Tron trains him to replace him. And the show actually kind of works to answer some questions here and there. It was basically like a Tron version of Star Wars, the Clone Wars, or Star Wars Rebels and whatnot. And that was actually pretty good for it. You get more lore, you enjoy these new characters, and the action was pretty good. But sadly, when it ended on another cliffhanger, where Clue is about to come in and try to fight off these rebels and whatnot. And I just feel sad because this was actually a very good show. You actually got involved in it. You actually really were trying to find out what was going to happen next. It kept you on your toes, but sadly, Disney just didn't promote it well. They kept moving it around the schedule, and at one point, the last season had to finish off at 12 at midnight. So you really had to stay up to pay attention. And it's sad because this was a great show, but sadly it's just another hidden gem. Number 3. Motor City. Now, this was a show that honestly was completely under the radar. Not many people knew what to think of this. This was a show about guys or people who want to drive cars, and that's basically it. But when you see it, it's like, holy crap, this whole thing is just so awesome. This dystopian future, these cars, these characters, the action, the animation, all of it is just really good. And the thing is, it sets a new standard. This is all animated in Flash, but you get such scenes like this. At that point, it's like, okay, they're clearly trying to push some boundaries or set some new standards here. The concept of this show is basically Detroit has been taken over by this evil billionaire named Abraham Cain, who has stopped all automobile transportation. And there's only one little oasis called Motor City that he hasn't touched. And the group called the Burners, led by Mike Chilton, are the one thing stopping him from taking over Motor City. Now, this show is just fantastic in what it does. It has great artwork, the action is really good, and the characters are just all enjoyable. The situations really get your heart pumping, and it's just fun action, and you really get involved in it. It really gets your heart racing. It does what it's supposed to do. It's really good. But sadly, the show was moved around the schedule a lot, and it ended up meeting the same fate as Tron Uprising, where it aired way too early in the morning for people to be able to watch it, so the ratings were pretty bad for it. Sadly, we lost this one, and it was a shame. It's an absolute shame. Number 2. Randy Cunningham, Ninth Grade Ninja. Now, just the title alone would probably get you to say, hell no. But it's actually pretty good. It is a very funny show. It works on all its levels. The concept is every 4 years, this ninja mask picks a freshman to protect the school and the city from evildoers. And the new guy has to learn lessons from the previous generations and even maybe come up with his own lessons.
Warrior who holds the weapon fight the battle.
The show itself just kind of captures the idea of being in high school, wanting to be popular, wanting to keep with the latest trends and all that. They have sort of pop culture references, but they're mainly parodies. They're there to mock pop culture. They don't actually just say, hey, buy the new iPhone. It just works because it's like, yeah, you're trying to insult what we would do back in high school, trying to keep with trends or trying to be popular and whatnot. And it's just funny. These characters are all great. You really enjoy Randy Cunningham. You enjoy Howard Wienerman. All these characters are just funny. In all the situations, you're just having a good laugh at. And the number 1 underrated Disney show is Penn Zero Part-Time Hero. Now, I went into more detail in my review of this show and in my top 5 best animated shows of 2015 list. I put it in my number 1 even. So I won't go into too much, but honestly, this is just the best show. Honestly, I think it's better than Star vs. the Forces of Evil. That's why it's number 1 on that list. This is just such a clever show. These characters are just great and memorable. You won't forget them. You will remember Penn, you will remember Sassy, you will remember Boone, you will remember Larry. You will never forget Larry, I guarantee you that. And you can remember Rippin too. He is such a great villain.
Today, Mega Supertropolis. Tomorrow, the world.
The entire world by tomorrow? I'd give myself at least a week. It took that long just to remodel my kitchen, Larry, and I was working on that thing 24/7. Larry, everyone was like, where'd you find the appliances? And I said, aisle 7, and they said, put them back and stop pretending you live here. You're scaring the customers.
I can read your mind. I'm getting all this twice.
Honestly, it's just sad because this show, it doesn't get much advertising from Disney. They barely promote it. It has a second season on the way, but they've yet to give an air date, and yet they have episodes ready to go. And it's sad. It really is, because it's like, this is one of your best shows, but you won't give it the time of day. It's a crying shame when shows that really are original just don't get much advertising. They'll either reboot a show that everyone's already seen and kind of know about and don't really want again, or they'll advertise absolutely terrible shows. And it's just awful that that's what has to happen. This and all these other shows on this list are just so great and fantastic, and sadly they just didn't get the time of day like they deserved. They were great shows, people liked them, yet sadly Disney gave up on them. But that's just a thought.